social norm changes, a lot, all of us know that there are things in Muslim countries 10 years ago or 20 years ago, they were considered bad or shameful, and now they became normal. I mean, there are things keep, I was talking to a brother who goes back to Tunisia, and others go to other countries like on the annual basis. He said something very interesting. He said, what is considered out of norm this year, next year becomes normal. I want to say something like a scene comes on TV, for example. This year, somebody will say, let's turn the TV off. Next year, it will go unnoticed. So, and you can think about it, a lot of social phenomena, they started as very abnormal. This homosexual, it didn't start normal. Now it became normal. So we have to understand that first, the factor of time. And you should allow your child to grow organically and not to fit it in a very strict mold. You shouldn't. Let them be themselves. Provide guidance, provide mentorship. Focus on religion and values. Don't focus on cultural or habits, because they're going to be different. Even if you're raising them next to Kaaba nowadays, they have the same access to somebody who's in Las Vegas. Same access. So it doesn't make it easier to raise your child in a Muslim country. So let them grow organically. Focus on you becoming a role model, because that's the first thing they're going to see in life. And that's where a lot of parents fail. Be a role model. They say, be the change that you want to see in the world. Show your child the way you want them to be. If your child grows up and see you taking good care of your prayer, have good relationship with the Quran, you are someone who is in the habit of reading, your manners are very decent, the way you deal with your spouse and you deal with others, you never lie, you never cheat. That's it. You don't need to do much, but that by itself can help raising your child a good Muslim with good character. I mean, it's not 100%, but that's a large percentage. That can take you a long way in raising your child as a good Muslim and a good person. So focusing on the role model and focusing on the idea of teaching or guiding or mentoring. A lot of parents, until now, they see their job as providing for their children. I provide for them good house. I'm paying whatever for their school. I'm buying them whatever they like. So I'm good parents. No, you're not. That's not tarbiyah. Providing for your child is not nurturing. It's not mentoring. That's a different thing. That's spending quality time and passing on life experience and wisdom and knowledge and guidance that you have to raise your child as someone who has the discipline, has the ambition to be very successful in life, very high ambition, high aspirations, and the discipline to do that. And they have a set of values and principles they will never violate. And they understand their religion, they have very good relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, etc. That's your job. I mean, your job is not to provide for your children. A lot of parents, their job stops there, especially nowadays with this social media and satellite TV. Even parents have no time for their children. Even parents are so busy and so consumed with these things, and the children also. So basically, even when the family all members of the family are in the house, everybody, they're living in their own world, which made it even much more challenging and difficult. So providing that role model, parents to realize that once you have a child, you have a huge responsibility, because now there is a person who is going to depend completely on you, not only for provision for their needs, but also depend on you for teaching and guidance. Before a child goes to any school, large percentage of their personality will be shaped up. Because there are some studies, they say like 6 years or 12, whatever, the personalities start shaping up, because the child is very good observer. They start observing from day one. The day they are born and they see, they start observing and connecting things and linking. And even though they cannot articulate, they cannot say, but they are storing information and building some connections of the things they see. So they are very good observers, which a lot of parents do not realize. So raising a child is a huge challenge. It is taken very lightly. That's why we have family who get like 6 and 7 children, even though they were not successful even with the first one. But people, because they think that as long as I can provide for them, why not? Why not having more children? They don't see the other part that requires a lot of attention and a lot of quality time and a lot of work on yourself. Because anything you want your child to be or to do, you have to do it yourself. You have to learn it yourself and apply it, and then you can share it with your child. And if you want to take a step back, the way families are built, so the way children are being raised is very haphazard. Majority of Muslim parents have no clue about parenting. And why they have no clue? 1, because they don't read. And 2, because their perception of parenting is providing. And I'm doing it. I work day and night to provide for my children. I'm bringing them everything they like. So I'm a good father. I'm a good parent. No, you're not. That's not your job does not end there. The other part of your job is even more critical. If you take a step back, families are built haphazardly. And these children are not being raised in a coherent family that is built on affection and trust and mutual respect, etc. Until now, Muslims they get married haphazardly. Alhamdulillah, recently some mosques are start providing what they call premarital counseling. I don't know how professional, how efficient that is, but still is not very widespread. Until now, we have people who are born and raised here, and when they want to get married, their parents bring a girl from overseas who probably doesn't have even English and has no clue about the American setting and the context. Until now, this is still continue to happen, and vice versa. For someone who has his daughter born and raised here, and then when she want to get married, they import a husband from overseas with. I mean, you're setting them up for failure. I mean, it will take a miracle for that kind of marriage to succeed. It's a cycle. Let's start with building family and continue with parenting and then building families. And that cycle, I can tell you, it's broken. It's dysfunctional. And we have to find a way to make it go in the right direction, because now it is going in the wrong direction. Families are raised haphazard. Family are built or established haphazardly. They raise children haphazardly. Their children get married haphazardly, and the cycle going on. We're going nowhere with this, because there is no more important and critical institution in the society or the community than the family. And while we are very careful when we establish business, we do feasibility study, we study the market, and we do this and planning and etc. But when we establish a family, we do it haphazardly. We don't realize that the biggest business, the biggest job, the most important job of yours is not your 9 to 5 job, is the fact that you are a spouse and you are a parent. And you should not, I mean, any job, you apply for any job, they ask about your credentials or your experience. What makes you a good candidate for this? But when it comes to being spouse and being a parent, we do it like that. No reading, no, nothing. And if you add to that the fact that especially practicing Muslims, who are raised in a conservative families where they have no relationships with the other gender at all. I mean, sometimes people go to the extreme. No interaction, let's say, not even no relationship, no interaction. And the boy, the first girl he's going to interact with is his wife, and vice versa. That makes it even harder. So I'm not saying that, I'm not promoting that interaction or before marriage, but at least do some reading, and let's make things more natural. Let's stop this. I mean, in some masajid there is very strict separation between genders. It's unnatural. It's unnatural, and every extreme, when you push to one extreme, the reaction is to go to the other extreme. Rather than providing a healthy environment for young Muslims, boys and girls, to be working together in the masjid with mentors and with big brothers and big sisters, etc., so that it's a natural setting, because there is this idea of ikhtilat does not exist in Islam. There is no such thing as ikhtilat or mixing. It's mixing doing what? It's not about being together that is a problem. If the people are sitting in a mosque and part of planning for an event, and there is some mentors there overseeing this and helping, what's wrong with that? I mean, why we try to push? And we have seen even in some Gulf countries, when they pushed to the extreme, they produced hypocrisy, and they produced homosexuality, because they're very unnatural. It's very unnatural for a woman to be going in the street with something black that is covering her like a tent. It's not very unnatural. So the reaction is, we have seen the reaction goes to the other extreme. So it's a very complex problems. We have to appreciate that this decision to get married is one of the biggest decisions in life, and has to be taken carefully. People have to be mature. People have to be compatible. They need to know each other before getting married, so that they minimize the surprise and risk for failure. And the maturity, especially, that before you get married, people have to know what they want to do in life, because that kind of confusion. And then when they get married, they find that everybody has different plans or different worldview, or etc., and then problems start happening. So being mature in terms of knowing exactly what you want to do, providing an environment for the boy and girl to get to know each other, and to be frank with their weaknesses, with their strengths, with their priorities, and all of this can help building families on a solid ground, and therefore can help raising children. And reading. Everything. You want to have a good health, you need to read about and raise your health awareness. You want to be a good spouse, you need to read. You want to be a good Muslim, you need to read. You need to be good parents, you need to read. There is nothing that happens like that. There is no such thing as, no, I know how to do it. No, you don't. And nobody is born knowing. Nobody was born to be engineer or be a physician or be anything. Everybody had to learn these skills to be able. Same thing to be a spouse and to be a parent. And
Assalamu alaikum,
nowadays,
Dr. Edward.
alaikum salam. And nowadays, there is hardly any place where it is easier to raise your children because, as I mentioned, children everywhere in the world nowadays, they have the same access, and therefore you're going to face the same challenges. So there is no point in saying, okay, America is hard, let me take them to a Muslim country. It's going to be probably become even harder. Yes.
Yes, Dr. Nushi, Jazakallah khair. With regards to, raising children in different cultures, and, to Brother Abu Abdullah's point, we want them to grow up like us. I find that sometimes even within the kids, the Arabian, kids that come, our children, from the Arab countries, when they look at different Muslims from different cultures here in the U.S., they tend to question, are they really good Muslims or not, right? Because their culture is different, because their ways are different. So I found myself doing that with my son. So he has two players from on his soccer team. They're Muslims from Africa. Well, one of them, his name is Muhammad. So I was like, yeah, I was asking my son, I was like, yeah, so yeah, I looked at the roster. His name is Muhammad. Why don't you talk to him? And, one day maybe we can invite him and Hamza and the other kids over by us. He's like, I don't know. His name is Muhammad, but I'm not sure about his Islam. I was like, how do you know what's in his heart? We're not going to judge, someone by their personality or the way they act. Maybe he's acting in a way where he's trying to fit in. Maybe he's not comfortable. You never know. Someone is, that has a different personality than yours. That doesn't mean that they're not as Muslim as they should be, or they have other ways. So what I'm trying to say is, not only do the parents find themselves doing this, we see parents trying to do this, but I think within our own children, probably the Middle Eastern children, they look at other Muslims as though, okay, how are they really Muslims? If they're not the way they are, Middle Eastern Muslims are, then I'm gonna question how Muslim they are. So I told my son, look, it's about what's what they practice, what they do. It's about what's in their heart. It's not about the personality, what they wear, what they joke or how they behave. I think we see parents doing it, but I think within our own children, they do it probably because they see the parents do it. But I'm trying to undo that with my son and explain to him that no, it's somebody has a different culture, different way of doing it. It's you don't measure Islam that way.
It's this is a problem that is going from one generation to another. So you're right. It's not only parents, because we are passing the same problem to our children, which has twofold. One is this judgmental attitude that unfortunately very widespread among Muslims, that people allow themselves to judge others, to judge other taqwa or others' faith or other iman or other everything. Even though these things are inside and we have no access to that, we cannot measure. You cannot measure your own taqwa. Never mind to measure the taqwa of somebody else. So first is judgmental attitude. And second, the understanding of Islam that focuses on appearances, madahir. So the woman who wears hijab have better faith than the one who doesn't, and the one maybe who wears niqab has a greater taqwa. The one who has a beard is better Muslim. So focusing on appearances, and the one who wears amama, up high, and focusing on appearance and focusing on rituals, شعائر ومظاهر. This person is always in the masjid or goes to the masjid, mashallah, يعني taqwa, etc. First of all, we should not, this is none of our business. And that's, by the way, both of them are coming from the dominant Salafi understanding or methodology, which is judgmental attitude and focusing on these things. You don't find people saying this person is good because of they're honest. They never lie. They're good to their families. They're good to their neighbors. They volunteer a lot. They do a lot of good deeds. They help their cousins. You don't hear that. This is a good Muslim because of the appearances. So if there is a woman who wears hijab and does everything bad and or had bad character, and another one next to her does not wear hijab, and she's very decent person, khuluq and even maybe salah, might be better salah than the other. Khuluq and interaction and muamala and doing good, contribution to the greater good and the common good. No, that's not our standards. Our standard is, that's it. No hijab, no Islam. Islam is questionable. So these are very deeply seated or rooted problems that have to be resolved. That number one, we should steer away and raise a generation who focus on themselves and realize that hisab is something that Allah reserved for himself. So many verses. إنما عليك البلاغ وعلينا الحساب أفأنت تكره الناس حتى يكونوا مؤمنين وما كان نفس أن تؤمن به. So many verses that says to the Prophet that your job ends in delivering the message. But judgment is not your responsibility. So we need to steer away and resist this temptation that, because implicitly, when you start judging people, you are exonerating yourself. You're saying that I'm the reference. So anybody who's different than me, then they are in trouble. No, you need to be humble and first of all, steer away. من حسن إسلام المرء تركه ما لا يعنيه. One of the characteristics or sign of a good iman is to mind your own business and not to so steer away from judgment, and then change the performance indicators even for yourself. Is that it is about akhlaq, about muamala, about what you do for humanity and how you behave. It's not about your appearance or how much you pray or how much you fast. That's between you and Allah. What we care about is the product of this. You spend the whole night praying and the whole day fasting. Shukran. May Allah reward you for that. طيب, what's the product? How you're interacting with people, how you're doing your work, how you're dealing with your spouse. That's what matters. If the product is not there, then we don't care about that, because that's between you and Allah. You can spend the whole night reading Quran and praying and making dhikr, and you can fast every day, fast all your life. That's direct worship between you and Allah. What matters for people is the translation of this. Is this translating into work ethics? Are you perfecting your job? Is this translating into being good neighbor? Is this translating into being civically engaged in society and making difference and contributing, whether your time or your money or your knowledge, your skills? Are you sharing this? Are you what difference are you making? Because at the end of the day, the two performance indicators for Muslims are tazkiyah and islah. How much you're doing for yourself to be a better person. Are you a better person today than yesterday? Are you learning something new and applying it to become a better person? That's number one. Number two, what contribution are you making? What difference are you making in the lives of others? What contribution are you making to make this world a better place? Because that's the essence of the mission of Islam. And that's how community should be built. It should be built around the mission. that people differ in fiqh, people differ in the level of commitment, in the level of practice. Some of them may not be even practicing, but they are members of the community. Now we establish the community only for the worshippers. That's why the majority of Muslims are not in the mosque. Why? Because we never made them feel that you are a member of the community, that the mosque should be very inclusive. As long you respect the norm, as long you respect that's fine. You're welcome, even if you're not practicing, or if you're not, you don't fit the particular profile. It's the way. If you look at the way the Prophet ﷺ built his community, the 100,000 that went from with the Rasul ﷺ after Fatah Mecca, I don't think they were. We know only few of them. I don't think all of them were the companions that we think in terms of practicing and commitment and knowledge. No, it was a whole movement built around the mission and leadership, and that's what we need to discover and emulate, because the way we're building our community has nothing to do with the way the Prophet ﷺ built and led his community. Very successful one.
Jazakallah khair, Dr. Khalid. A couple days ago was a class here in Fairfax, Virginia. And the teacher of the class, female class, not male class, she was talking about Saudi Arabia, how MBS doing changes, making Saudi Arabia more liberal. And one of the attendees told her, let us focus in our problems in America. Let us fix our problem in Fairfax, Virginia. It's not our problem what's going on in Saudi Arabia. And the teacher was mad. I mean, what do you think about this discussion? Why we need to talk about Saudi Arabia and UAE and we forgot our problems here in America?
I don't know exactly about the content. Is this public school?
No, not in public school, no. Islamic school, yeah.
I don't know about the context, but I always, I'm by principle, I believe we should separate things. We should not mix. Teaching in school should not come close to politics or even religion, because these are controversial issues. These are controversial issues and should not be raised. And I even believe that even in khutbah, I try and I always recommend for everybody to stay away in khutbah from controversial issues, because there is no chance for people to ask questions or to give their opinion. So you're imposing your way on people. So teachers, I don't think it was appropriate from the teacher to talk about this, because that's something controversial. We know there are some people who praise what is happening in Saudi Arabia, and some people who are very mad. So controversial issues, and all politics are controversial, should not be raised. Whether the response of the child was the right one to do in class, or maybe to do it later, or to do it through their parents, I don't know. All of that has to be looked up on, because the teacher made a mistake. I don't think the way the child responded, it's not the content, it's responding in front of the class, may not be the best way. It might be after class or through their parents, or go to the principal or whatever, saying that can we stay away from this, because there are people who have different opinions, and if we want to focus, we can focus on local problems. And even local problems, we should be careful, because not to fall in polarization, and because these are controversial issues, and teachers should not abuse their authority or their to push their opinion. They even if this is part of the curriculum, it should be the teacher should be more like facilitator more than pushing particular opinion. Allahu Akbar.
If nobody has any other question, Dr. Suri, we see you inshallah next Sunday at noon.
إن شاء الله إن شاء الله.
السلام عليكم.
وياكم. السلام عليكم.
السلام عليكم. عندنا مشكلة
السلام عليكم.
كده بيروح ظهر he wants to go.
طب ما تشطحها شوية.
And I'm trying to ask